A man who fights for the sake of his title, while another man fights for revenge for his family. I wonder, who shall win? Before we open this review of Chapter 56 of Record of Ragnarok, please do me a favor, leave your own notes on the chapter in the comment section down below, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure to hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Now, let's get into it. What's up guys, I got a pencil here, and here we are to review Chapter 56 of Record of Ragnarok, which is known as King versus King, which it's a pretty accurate description, I'm not going to lie. Ruler versus ruler, king versus king, whatever you want to call it. The two men are about to go to battle, and they do go to battle in this chapter, which is very interesting to see. So let's hop right on into it. So we open up right where we left off in chapter 55, and we see that Ares, he's a little shaken on the fact that he just got casually flipped like an omelet or a pancake or whatever you want to call it. That man's looking a little bit confused, and even Hermes is like, huh, he kind of like that. And of course, Ares is like, wait a minute, hold on. I gotta prove my title real quick. What do you think you're doing? Come on now, I'm a deity, and I was trying to be nice to you. What you trying to get into? And to be fair, as much as I would hop into the manga myself and fight Ares, I will admit this must be a little shocking to him. You know, he doesn't know he's fodder. Well, everyone else does, readers and characters in the verse included, but he doesn't know he's fodder. He has this title. He's a whole deity. Why should he be challenged by this one random human dude? And I think the best thing about this is that it shows more of Qin Shi Huang. I'm going to struggle with pronouncing his name. I'm not even sure if that's the right pronunciation. I just looked it up. But Qin Shi Huang, it shows more of his, like, complete indifferent personality. Like, notably, he doesn't have any respect or care for anyone who goes directly against his whole existence in his mind. Like, he believes himself to be a king. So when this random dude that he just flipped over is trying to assert his dominance just because he's a deity, well, he's not a king. He's not an emperor. He's not being addressed properly, so he's gonna ignore him. And he literally just pats the couch he's on, like, ooh, this is kind of cushy. I like this. What's the fabric? And I think that's good to show, because like it uses Ares, unfortunately, as a jobber, as you always got to. But in terms of like establishing Qin Shi Huang's personality before the fight even begins, that's really, really good to do, because you rarely get that in Record of Ragnarok. Like, there are a few instances where you get a glimpse of the personality. Like, you get Zeus' personality a little before the fight. You get some of Thor's. You actually, now that I think about it, you get a lot of the gods' personality before the fight. You get a little bit of you get a decent chunk of Buddha's before the fight. Like, you get to see a lot of things before the backstory and the fight for some characters, but it's rare to see. And considering the fight starts this very chapter, getting this establishment of Qin Shi Huang, like getting his personality established well here is very, very good, especially as quickly as it's being done. And then, of course, we get to see that Ares, he's still trying to press the point, like, okay, I like that you like the couch, but I'm still a deity, bro. I'm one of the 12 gods of Olympus. You just can't sleep on me. And he goes to grab Qin Shi again, but in that same moment, he just gets flipped again. And the thing is, it's even more casual this time. Like, notably, we saw Huang flip him before and like stab him with something, and then he fell over. Meanwhile, this time it looks like Qin Shi Huang, like just manages to just casually toss him one-handed. Like, the fact that Ares put his whole hand on him like he was actually about to do something actually made him just go whew. And he just launches Ares so hard that he actually just leaves a dent in the wall that he slammed into, which is impressive and terrifying. But to be fair, this man was just kicking down whole walls, so I'm not surprised. But then we get to see that even in the face of threat and adversity, all that Huang has to say is like, oh, you're pretty lively. And I love how Ares just, once again, like previous, like similar to last chapter, has this internal breakdown of like, huh? Again? What did you just do to me? How did you flip me on my back again? I'm the god of war. What's happening right now? Is this really my title? Am I really fodder? Am I fodder? Like, he's going to keep questioning this, and I don't know when he's going to realize, but he's going to learn. But regardless of that, we get to see that Hermes is still actually pretty impressed that his brother, the number one meathead, or musclehead as he calls him, in all of Valhalla, of the 12 Olympian gods, they just get body bagged. But the thing is, what is interesting here is that rather than fear, which you have seen Hermes express up to this point, Hajun did manage to rip out like a fearful look out of Hermes, an ever confident Hermes, but he actually just considers Huang like a curious one, something interesting, something cool to witness. And I like that because it's sort of, I'm not sure if it really establishes like an automatic pecking order in terms of like power and what Hermes views as like fearful and interesting. But considering Hermes has been one of the most unshakable characters, almost to that Odin tier of I don't really care about anything that's happening right now, I'm actually intrigued to see his assertions of this next human fighter. And speaking of the next human fighter, Huang asks, Qin Shi Huang. Huang asks, hey, not gonna lie, the boy's a little bit thirsty. You got anything to drink? And Hermes, he lights up and is like, oh, sure. Would you be interested in some home mead or something? Wait, how's it called? Honey mead, not home mead. And to be fair, I think that's just liquor. But I love how Qin Shi Huang. I love how Huang is like, yeah, sure, why not? And then he just actually gets a whole thing of honey mead, I guess, and then it's delicious. I don't know. I don't think Hermes would stoop as low as the poison one of the human fighters at this instant, despite how quickly he lights up and turns into a servant for a human. I don't think he would do that because I feel like I don't think he would do that. He doesn't seem like that kind of guy. Like if this was Loki, I could definitely see Loki doing that because he doesn't care. Like he would do anything to sabotage the humans. But Hermes, not saying that he's like the most honorable guy or anything like that, but I feel like it's just not in character for Hermes to be out here poisoning people right before their next big fight. But that's just me. I don't know. Maybe he did because that did seem oddly weird. That seems strange that Hermes went from this dude's pretty interesting to instantly lighting up and serving him like he's a deity himself. I'm kind of intrigued, I'm not gonna lie. And Hermes, like these two, Qin Shi Huang and Hermes have this interesting interaction where they just like introduce each other because like Huang is like, yo, that's pretty bomb, my bro. What's your name, man? And Hermes introduces him specifically as Hermes, one of the 12 gods of Olympus. And it's interesting how Ares just feels disrespected by both of them. Like Hermes didn't bother checking up on him, and obviously Huang is one that threw him into a wall. And as Ares goes to like retaliate, I guess, which is a fight that he would undoubtedly lose. Like we haven't seen Hermes fight a fly yet. However, I'm still confident in the fact that he would wash Ares. And on top of that, we've obviously seen what happens in the Ares versus Huang matchup, so we don't want to see any more of that. But Gear luckily comes into the save for Hermes. Like, yo, Hermes is so fun. I just looked at the panel. Ares gets smacked in the face and stumbles from doors opening by Gear. I know she's a Valkyrie. Who knows? She may secretly be the strongest one for all we know, but still. Gear is the one who manages to knock Hermes back and make him make a large noise in pain. Ares, you are so fodder, bro. Are you even a deity at this point? Are you the god of war? Like, talk to me. Where's Athena at? Like, we know who the real one is. So where is she? Because obviously you're just not it, my guy. You're just not it. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. Then we see Huang being like, oh no, I've been found. Because it appears like Brunhild had the perfect idea. Like, just follow the holes. Follow the holes left behind, and you'll find Huang. And of course, they followed the holes, and they found Huang. And I love how Brunhild did try to she tried to put orders on Huang. Like, she told him not to leave the room. Don't do that. Stay where you are. I'll come get you when you're needed. And obviously, Huang did the exact opposite and left a whole bunch of holes everywhere, destroying the architecture. And Huang is like, he's like, I love how he's so casual. It's a weird thing, right? Like, Huang just gives off this impression like he's a really cool dude. Like, you probably, if you were friends with this man, you would have a great time. But at the same time, like, he just doesn't care. And that gives it off a really cool vibe, but also really like ominous vibe, because he's not following like the requests or orders or whatever you want to call him, or the person who resurrected him and made him one of the 13 fighters to save humanity. What do you think he's going to do if he doesn't like you or something like that? Like, we already saw what he did to Ares twice. Now imagine, Ares, is, as much as we count on him, he is pretty darn durable. If he had thrown a human, a regular person, against that wall with the same amount of force, they would have splattered. So, obviously Huang, he gives off this, at the same time, super interesting presence to him. Like, he's just this live, jovial guy who seems like he'd be cool to hang out with. But at the same time, he just feels inherently ominous alongside that. And I think it works out because, as he says, he's still in this whole. Well, to be fair, he is. He is the great uniter, but he's in this whole emperor mindset. Like, don't worry, the road is where I lead, and thus I will pave a path, and you will follow me. And this gets two very different reactions. Like, Hermes is just loving it. Like, he's laughing his head off. He's eating this up. Meanwhile, Ares is like, yo, what the heck? And like, what is this man going on about? I have no clue what he's talking about. And he seems kind of crazy. And like, I hate that I agree with Ares, but I feel him on that one. Like, Huang almost seems detached from the world as a whole. And that's cool to be around and cool if you could work with it, but extremely dangerous if something goes wrong. And it's like, apparently it doesn't seem like Gear and Brunhild are intimidated by him at all. And to be fair, they have like Nostradamus. They already dealt with Adam. And so far, at least from what I've seen, not a single human surpasses Adam, like even closely. Like, the only argument you could hypothetically make is that Sasaki does, because he has the statement of surpassing all of creation and scanning all of it at once and being the pinnacle. But other than that, I don't see anyone reaching Adam yet. So who knows? I guess that's probably why they just aren't too intimidated. And it appears like, as Gear and Brunhild go to apologize to Hermes, and Ares like, yo, our faults, my G's, our faults. Sorry for having to bother you like this. And Hermes is like, nah, it's good. I'm chilling. Like, it don't really bother me. Which is like, was it poison? Was the meat poison? Nah, I doubt that. I'm probably definitely overthinking that. But it just seems strange. But then we see that Huang, like, once again, in this sort of unhinged manner that's still really chill and laid back, he's like, nah, I'm good. We don't need to go. I'm taking a liking to this place. This is kind of my spot. And honestly, I don't think I'll grow bored here, because I have the lively dude over there, and this dude's pretty chill, so I think I'm just going to keep drinking honey bean until my match. And then Brunhild is like, yo, apologies, since apparently you just weren't paying attention, but you're going to be fighting in round 7. And Huang has this like instant flip. He's like, ooh, wait a minute, yes. I'm not sure what how means. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. But I looked it up, and I think it means good. Please tell me what that means. If it's good, I'm proud of me. If it's not good, I don't know. My keyboard doesn't pop up with the same letter that does. It has an arrow pointing upwards rather than the arrow pointing downwards. So I'm not sure. And that's the one, the arrow pointing downwards would translate to good. So I'm not sure what how actually means. But it seems like, once again, Huang jumps into this, like, finally, I've been bored of waiting. He stands up sharply, and he's ready. And an interesting thing is, like, obviously, I didn't necessarily notice it last chapter review, but a lot of people were talking about it, and I doubt he has an ability like this. He has something interesting that we'll see later in the chapter, but I doubt he has something along the lines of Infinity. But he definitely does remind me of Gojo. This, like, insane powerhouse that seems to be beyond everything else, doesn't seem to really take anything else seriously, and seems to be in control of his own life, absolutely. And that also happens to wear a blindfold and is extremely powerful. He kind of low-key built like Gojo, I ain't gonna lie, but still. I think the cool thing is that Qin Shi Huang, I keep saying Huang, but it's Huang. Qin Shi Huang, and I'm probably still pronouncing that wrong. Please correct me in the comments section down below. But still, when told, like, yo, we gotta go get you to the entrance so we can get the match started, Huang is like, oh, no, don't worry about it. We got this. And it says that, he says that, I walk the path of an emperor. The road is where I lead. And he apparently meant that not just figuratively, but also literally, because as he points his two clawed fingers down, we get the introduction. We cut over to Heimdall, and I love Heimdall's introductions, even though I don't like this design of Heimdall. I hope he has some secret form, whatever. But in terms of his introductions, he really be smacking it up with that. And he basically builds up hype, like, yo, we are tied up right now, 3-3. The battles are getting intenser. It's time to just keep ramping up. And to be fair, nothing's been as good as Atlas versus Zeus so far. But still, there's been ramping tension. Like, these tight, close matches is something that neither side was really expecting for multiple reasons. And then we get to see that when Heimdall goes to introduce Huang, there's no one there, because obviously he's not choosing to take that entrance. And then we see this dude with a gong who's just like, bang, and he slams it, and then the sound resonates throughout the arena. And suddenly we see a whole bunch of people just vanish from the human side. And they're all just going, and making their way over to the god side. And it seems like they've managed to actually like make their way in between the deities. And to be fair, these are just like random fodder gods. Like we don't know any of their power and stuff like that. So it is logical that these humans could walk right on through. We've seen that humans and deities are pretty comparable. They have some minor differences. And there's obviously like the average deity will be stronger than the average human. But it makes sense that these probable superior humans are able to push on through. And we see that these people that have come are residents of China. And partially a lot of the big main ones are these kings of China, or kings of the parts of China. And honestly, I love their designs. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the mangaka just does a fantastic job of creating designs for characters that reasonably aren't going to be that important in the grand scheme of things. Like, these people aren't going to suddenly hop down and start fighting. They're going to replace the emperor of China, obviously. But the designs are so cool. Like, the one dude kind of looks like the Monkey King. You have this one weird dude who has like this crowned sun thing on his head, but it's all dark instead of being bright. You have this one dude who has this really cool smile on his face. I feel like he's just a really cool character on his own. Like, all these individual people have really cool designs. I think that's great. And then we get to see that, like, that's the thing. There's so many interesting things. So there's another dude who just seems pretty relaxed. Like, he's holding something. And it looked, honestly, I was so confused when I first read this because it looked like a really complex log. And I'm like, what are you going to use that for? Like, what purpose does that serve? And we see he's standing alongside two other emperors, and it's shown that they're all the different emperors of the segregated China. They're all the individual emperors of their own domains, and yet they're doing busy servant work. And as they're commanded to focus and stuff like that, and as they're commanded to get ready, they unfurl this gigantic log-looking thing they're holding, only to reveal that they are all supporting a red carpet, or I'm not sure what color it is, but a carpet that just leads down. It's a long carpet. Well, like, where did y'all get that from? Did y'all just have that? I know y'all came in your armor and all your traditional stuff and stuff like that, but did y'all make that on the side during the previous matches? Like, hold on, ignore Adam versus Zeus. We gotta go get the carpet ready for the king. Like, I don't know. It was kind of funny to me. But then we get to see as Huang walks down, Hermes is like, not Hermes. Heimdall's like, wait, yo, this is kind of unexpected. The gods are getting angry. What the heck is going on? Oh, wait, but it's showbiz. I gotta hype him up. So we get to see the introduction of Huang, like the official introduction. Sure, we met him. We already got his name and all that stuff. But Qin Shi, he's just being introduced in terms of what he did. He was the one who annexed and overthrew the 6 kingdoms of the warring states. He's the one who united them all. And he's the one who created the original like empire of China. He united all the lands into one, and is the first person in all of human history supposedly to reach the supreme rule of heaven. Huangtian Shangdi called himself thus the king where it all began, the first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. And he lands, and I really like that. I don't know, it seems like this personality is what would be needed for like a feat like that, in terms of just how crazy that would be to go through all of that and unite that many different warring states. You would need a person who's this powerful yet this aloof. Like this person has, ironically enough, the personality of a ruler that I can understand. And obviously all the gods aren't happy that they were used as like stepping stones and he walked down upon them. And I love how the people of the modern era, or at least a more modern era, kind of confused, like, wait a minute, this is an emperor dude? Like, can he fight? What are they doing? Because they don't know anything about him. And we find waiting on the other side is a Valkyrie, and her name is Alvitir. I'm gonna call her Alvitir because we aren't gonna see her for a while anyway, so I'm not even gonna bother to learn her name. But in terms of this, she's upset that, like, yo, you didn't come out of the proper gate, you left me waiting here this entire time, and on top of that, we haven't even practiced anything like Volund. So what's going on here? I initially thought like maybe the claws he was wearing was the Volund, but I guess not. They just didn't do it yet. And notably, this is the only time I'll say, like, I'm kind of low-key disappointed with the Valkyrie's design. I mean, it doesn't seem to, like, all the Valkyries up to this point have been like sort of unique, especially the ones that have been fighting. The first one was a full-grown woman, then glasses, then blanking. Who did he? You had the tall, like, twin sisters dynamic, or no, the two people in one dynamic with Sasaki. You had the muscular one with Raiden. Obviously, in round 5, we didn't have Volund at all. So to kind of see this is, I mean, it's not necessarily bad. It's not underwhelming, but she looks just like the one that Jack had. And I was hoping for one that maybe, like, emphasized royalty a little bit more, but no, she just ends up being, like, similar, like I said, similar to the one that Jack had. And Huang, unlike Jack sort of just went, and I guess that's the difference in approach. Like, despite this one being similar to the one Jack had, Alvidir, when she goes up to Huang, he just, like, casually offers her over and is like, come here. Meanwhile, Jack just went and just absorbed her very specifically. Meanwhile, Huang gets her, like, embarrassed and stuff like that, and then he manages to lock eyes with her through a blindfold, I guess, and they manage to fuse. And this creates an interesting set of armor, if you will. It creates Volund Almighty Spalders. And this design, like, I mean, he says it fits him nicely, and it does, purely on the top, though. Like, aesthetically, this design looks a bit unbalanced, because he looks a bit too top-heavy to me. Like, I don't know if that's just me, but, like, he seems to have way too much going on the top and compared to the bottom. And I know, like, it matches coloring wise because he has the black armor on top and then, like, the black bottoms. But in terms of, like, I don't know, maybe make his legs a little thicker, put a little more armor plating down there, something. Like, the design seems a bit unbalanced. But I don't know, maybe that's how it's supposed to work. I have no idea how you're supposed to use Spalders. I always just thought they were, like, a part of armor or something like that. But no, he believes it fits him nicely, and he knows how to use them, so there you go. More power to you, Huang. And then we get to see that while Gear's a little bit worried, because obviously she knows the whole thing about, well, if the Volund user dies, the sister dies too. Brunhilde's like, you just gotta have faith. If they die, they die. It'd be like that when it be like that sometimes. And then speaking of it be like that when it be like that sometimes, we cut over to Hades, who's walking out, ready for his introduction. And we see that he wields a bident. And for some reason, I always thought it was a duodent or a dident, but I'm supposing that bident makes more sense because it still does mean two. It's a very interesting design. To be fair, I think I specifically mentioned one of the past reviews, whatever weapon Hades was going to be wielding, it couldn't just be his helm. Like, I know he has the helm in mythology, I'm pretty sure, but that doesn't work as, like, a fighting tool. And I highly doubt that Hades was going to go, like, hands to hands, throw on fisticuffs. So I guess this bident ends up working. It's an interesting design because, like, it's not evenly balanced. So, like, you would have the initial pierce and then the secondary pierce in terms of how it would attack you in comparison. But then again, you always have the primary pierce with the trident and then the two secondary pierces. So I guess it works out. It is a design that I think I've seen bidents before, but it's just such a rare design compared to tridents or just regular spears that it always throws me off when I see it. It's like seeing a quadrant. Actually, even then, I said, like, seeing a quadrant is more useful. Like, a spear, a trident, a quadrant, or I'm not sure what you would call a 5-prong one, but a 5-prong trident is, like, all of those are pretty common, but seeing a bident, it's just strange to me. Not a bad artistic design or anything like that, but it's just strange. Am I a little sad that Hayes is just another spear wielder? Yeah. Was I low-key hoping you would have, like, an axe or something? Or, like, heck, I don't want to be fair, I didn't want him to have a blade because we already have more swordsmen coming up. But still, in terms of, like, weaponry, I feel like he could have had something a bit more unique, but for what happens next, I think it works out that he has a bident. Because we get to see that someone comes up to Hades always trying to walk out, and he's like, wait, sir, hold on. I'm the humble servant of Poseidon, Proteus. And hold on, let me do some research real quick. I know I'd heard the name Proteus somewhere, so he is an actual sea deity, but in this world, he's a servant to Poseidon. He's a subsection. I think that is the same in the original mythology too, so it makes sense. I really like his design too. Once again, Manga is just great at making designs for characters that we may either A, never see again, or B, see like 1 or 2 times more. I don't know, they're just really good at what they do, because this is also a really great design. And then we get to see that Hades is like, yo, what the heck do you want? Because, like, I'm being real with you. I will smite you right here, right now. You'll become a member of my domain, become one of my servants if you don't explain yourself. And then we get to see Proteus present something. And it's the end of Poseidon's trident. And I almost called it a spear. But it's the end of Poseidon's trident. And I forgot how much I love this design. Like, it is an amazing design for one. And two, yeah, I kind of forgot. Like, unlike the Valkyrie weapons, the Volunds, the divine weapons, even if they're like broken or destroyed, they don't necessarily disappear. They're still going to stay there. They're just made that way. So it's cool to see this design come back. And then we see that Proteus is like, he, due to being a servant of Poseidon, he must have still had like some inherent respect for Poseidon, because he wants Hades to get revenge for him using the remains of his master, which is just his weapon at this point. The rest of it's destroyed. And we see Hades, being the cool older brother he is, he's like, come on, you idiot. You know my brother wouldn't want someone going out there and seeking revenge for him. And Proteus is like, you know what? I was afraid you'd say that. I guess I just won't. I'll just take this back. But then we see Hades step up and be like, hold on a minute. And he looks at the trident in his hand, right? Or the head of the trident. And he's like, you know what? It is my duty as the eldest brother to smack and destroy some humans just for the sake of my little bro. And I love how it's not necessarily a Volund. And I think this may have, I'm not sure if this is just an inherent godly ability or if it relates to something that I mentioned last chapter review, like Hades being some sort of a like earth manipulator or riches manipulator, much more akin to his Roman designation of Pluto, like him being able to merge the weapons together almost in a Volund-like sense. Like he combines his bident and it has the flaring wings of Poseidon's trident. And I don't think, it doesn't necessarily affect the rest of the blade, which I think would have been cool if one of the tips of the trident, maybe even the big middle one, was like turned Hades' own bident into a trident and like pierced out, or even turn it into a 5-pronged trident. I think that would have been very, very cool. But also that would have been super hard to draw. But I'm glad that Hades is going to go together with his baby brother with the wings of his weapon attached to him. And I wonder if this is going to imbue Hades' weapon with any extra power. Like, I know the divine weapons are considered cheat weapons. That's what Brunhild calls them all the way back. However, it's to be fair, Poseidon didn't necessarily do much with any of his powers with his weapon. So who knows? Maybe it's just a cool aesthetic change. Regardless of what it is, I think it's very, very cool. I love how Proteus has this like great moment of just like happiness, like, thank you so much, sir, I'm glad you're doing this for me. And in his mind he's like, thank the heavens, Poseidon, my lord, wherever you are in nothingness, don't worry, your big bro's got your back. And I do love that about Hades. Like, to be fair, Hades isn't actually mentioned that much in original Greek mythology from what I know. I just mainly know the story of Persephone, and like, I think he shows up in the Iliad or the Odyssey. It's one of those two. He shows up in one of those. I think maybe the Iliad. I'm not sure, but I know he's not the most common figure. But a lot more modern interpretations of Hades, except for like early Percy Jackson, show Hades off to be like, he's a pretty decent dude. So this definitely seems like something he would do, especially in honor of his little brother. And I think that's really, really neat. And then we get a really cool moment, like one that we haven't seen for a while, of Heimdall actually being like a little bit concerned just introducing a deity. Like, he gulps nervously and then he goes into Hades' lore, and it's revealed that as people are witnessing, all the gods are acting a little bit strange. Like, they're shaking, they're concerned, they're nervous. Some of them are just showing the whites of their eyes, like they're actually worried. And it's interesting how we get a Viking dude who's just drinking some beer. He's like, Helheim? Because he's one of the few that would understand that, considering Helheim is apparently just the overarching underworld name. It seems like all of these gods, and it's very akin to when Poseidon walked out and when Zeus walked out, they, regardless of the pantheon they come from, they raise a hand to their chest and they're giving Hades his respect. And it's because when this god walks, the whole world trembles. When he scowls, all before him bow down. Cerberus, the watchdog of the underworld, drops his head to him. Typhoon, the most fearsome monster, purrs like a feline. The eldest of the 3 strongest brothers of Greece, and king of the netherworld, Hades. And the most impressive part of that lore is, one, obviously, the whole gods trembling in his presence thing. But 2, actually, like, Typhoon, the most fearsome monster, purring like a feline. Because at least, if I'm remembering my Greek mythology properly, and I'll admit I haven't studied up in a bit, so don't be afraid to correct me. But wasn't Typhoon like a threat that required like all the gods? I know it required all the gods to team up in Percy Jackson, but wasn't it like, didn't Zeus have to unlock like a new level of power to go and defeat that dude? Like, that's kind of crazy. I know the lore in Record of Ragnarok is very different from initial Greek mythology lore, but still, like, Typhoon, he ain't no joke. He really is not. So having Hades be so powerful that Typhoon himself is like, oh, I don't want that smoke. Let me turn into a cat real quick. Like, that's pretty darn amazing. And then we get to see this king of the netherworld takes off his jacket and reveals his gains. My boy went to the gym. He may have skipped leg day a little bit, but he got the arms. And interestingly enough, two things. One, I do kind of low-key wish he kept the coat, because the coat was saucy. Like, I was already kind of sad he got rid of the eye patch, because I thought the eye patch was cool, but obviously that would have been difficult to draw. And two, I'm kind of disappointed that he got rid of the coat, and I understand the coat will be difficult to draw. Like, that's the thing. Like, I understand why certain things are removed, because too much detail is hard to do, whether you're drawing a manga, and especially if you're drawing an anime. Golly gee willikers, some things are hard to draw consistently every single panel for panel. However, I really did like the coat. Kind of sad that it's gone. But on top of that, now that we see Hades' gains, we also get to notice something that I noticed a while back, but we only have to see on his face, but now we see is on his arms. He has these, like, leaf plant-like things growing on him. They seem like tattoos, but I wonder, does that relate to Persephone? Because we know Persephone in, like, more modern interpretations is like the goddess of spring, but in ancient interpretations, like, she was just a weird underworld goddess death thing. I've been watching too much overly sarcastic productions. I'm gonna lie. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. That's where I get most of my recent Greek knowledge from. But yeah, I wonder if that has anything to do with his wife. I wonder if she's alive and stuff like that, because we haven't seen her yet. She hasn't been mentioned. Is she still chilling? Is she the one running the underworld right now? Because we soon see that a lot of his attacks are named for her, and I wonder if that's like in her memory kind of thing, or just like, oh, I love my wife, let me name all my attacks after her. I don't know, but I'm kind of intrigued. I wonder if the tattoos mean anything, or if they're just like a cool aesthetic choice. I don't know. We'll see. But, of course, we get to see that this really is the Battle of Kings. The king to rule all. The King of Kings, which is honestly a cool name. I think there's a Fate character that has that same title. For some reason, the name Askeladd comes to mind, but I think that's a Vinland Saga character, and I haven't read either of those, so I don't know why their names are popping up in my head. But King of Kings is a really cool title. Honestly, King of Kings is a cooler title than King of the Netherworld, but even still, the fact that the battle begins with these two King of Kings just stepping to each other is exciting. And I also really like something. I like how, like, as much as like Qin Shi Huang, hold on, let me just check again. Qin Shi Huang, I feel like I've said Qin many two times, but Qin Shi Huang has this, like, extremely overemphasized, like, top design with the spalders, and then Hades has this really not necessarily underwhelming, but underemphasized top design with just his gains out. I think that's really, really cool, and I like how they have the opposite designs with their bottoms too. Like, Hades, despite taking off the coat, still has, like, the whole, like, mini dress thing, like the cloak, the coat behind the coat, like the skirt-ish thing that Poseidon had, and meanwhile Huang just has, regular pants on and, like, the fancy shoes. But then the battle of king versus king commences, and we see as Heimdall leaps back so he doesn't get attacked, we get to see a lot of different people, and we get to see, interestingly enough, Hermes and Ares. That's expected. Brunhild and Geir. That's also expected. Odin by himself, which is interesting. I thought Loki would still be with him, but maybe Loki's off doing his own thing right now. We see Nostradamus chilling in what seems to be not necessarily the stands or his room, but maybe in the background of the stage itself. Like, he's propped up between two weird pillar things. So I'm wondering where he is, because he has a really good vantage point on the fight. And then we get to see Soji, Sasaki, Kondo, and some other person. I'm not sure who that person is. I can't remember, and I couldn't find them when I tried to scan him, the manga, real quick, looking for him before this video. So I wonder if that's just a servant or someone. Who is that dude? Oh wait, no, I'm an idiot. That's his Volund. That's the Valkyrie that he worked with. I forgot. She's not two people. She went back to normal, so she is just one person again. And I think it's kind of cool that the Volunds are, like, still hanging out with their respective human, because, like, we see Jack and his Volund just chilling there, just hanging out, as they do, watching the fight. I think that's really, really neat. And Jack seems to be, oh, well, no, he still has the bandages, so he's not fully healed yet. But very, very cool. I was kind of hoping we'd see Shiva. We only got to see the humans there mostly, so I was hoping we'd see some more deities. Like, I mean, should be fair, we saw Ares and Hermes, and obviously we saw the I don't know why my mind blanked on the word Valkyries. Well, we saw the Valkyries and stuff like that. But I was hoping maybe see Zeus, maybe see, we saw Odin, maybe see Loki. I don't know, maybe see Buddha. Like, is that man okay? I don't know. I want to see some more, but obviously we got a new fight to move on to. So, and another thing I love about this portrayal of Hades, that's once again common to a lot of modern portrayals of Hades, but still, like, he's like, yo, Qin Shi Huang, right? Or no, Qin Shi Huang, right? Sorry, no offense. I have nothing against you. However, I hate to say it, you're just going to rue the day that you were born a human, because I have to slaughter you in the name of my brother. And notably, I love how Hades, despite being honestly on the smaller side compared to some of the deities we've seen, even in terms of his gains, like, he just brings this presence to him. Like, he silences the entire arena with a single step forward. And I love how the narrator themselves is like, will this attack of Hades be the one like Poseidon? A head-on flurry of offhanded thrusts? Nay, it's just a single loaded strike meant to kill. Like, Hades just thrusts the Bident forward. And if that attack had landed, I know he's got the Spalders on right now, but that would have gone straight through just about anybody. There may have been some people who've been able to tank it, but still, in terms of just raw, like, one single motion to have that much weight to it, that is impressive. And we see that Huang, he's not like talkative right now. He's actually kind of intrigued. Like, he dodges it just barely. Like, he just barely manages to weave it. But then Hades takes one more step forward, and there's another and there's another thrust, and there's another thrust, and there's another thrust. Like, whoa, pause. But still, he's just constantly attacking with just the raw intent to kill. Like, this isn't like the way Poseidon was doing it, where he was sort of just like toying around with Sasaki. Hades is trying to get it done, so he's just like boom, 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 boom. And I love how even Heimel's like, ooh, dodge, duck, bob, weave. He's straight up saying, yo, this man Shin, he's avoiding everything. And even Hermes, who still has a smile on his face, interestingly enough, is like, yeah, if any of those were to land, Huang would be dead. And notably, I'm not sure if this is similar, like, I kind of like I talked about not liking the fact that Hades is wielding another like spirit type weapon, but at the same time, I do kind of like how he's the merger of his two younger brothers. Like, notably, I'm not sure if this is just artistic choice or maybe a reference to what I think it is, which is Zeus. Like, when Hades grips his weapon, it almost seems like his arm swells a bit, like how Zeus will swell between his tiny form and his massive buff form, and he thrusts with an attack known as Persephone, Callicoron, Hammer of the Netherworld. And I don't know, it's really, really cool. He has the same weapon, or a similar type of weapon as Poseidon, which captures that aspect, and then the muscle growth and mutation of Zeus. Very cool little traits. Makes sense the older brother would have both of them. And then we get to see that once again, Huang, like, he's just barely weaving. And that's mainly what he's doing. Like, Hades is just constantly attacking, rupturing the ground around them, destroying the arena already. And Huang is just weave, dodge, buck. So he's floating like a butterfly and stinging like a bee. And then we get to see that the very wind that Hades has left behind. I love how it's the same dude from before that has like the same mug of beer that's still overflowing. Is that the same panel? Hold on. Is that the exact same panel? Hold on, wait a second. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't be doing that. I should pause. But wait, I want to see if is this the I think that's literally the exact same panel, copy and pasted. Let me see. Now let me get back to where I was. I should have just duplicated the tab. But yeah, it's almost verbatim to the same panel, but it's the same dude that's like, whoa, oh man, this is the power of the king of the netherworld. And the wind itself manages to slice into Huang's torso. And even Huang is like, whoa, wait a minute, that's a little bit too strong. And Heimdall just shows, states the obvious, obviously. Like, Shin, who seemed to have dodged the Hades attack, still took damage because even the wind that comes off of Hades' attacks is damaging. And he, for the first time, seems to struggle a little bit. And once again, I'm not sure if this is artistic choice or once again a reference to Zeus and his ability to mutate, but Hades' arm swells extremely large and he goes in for the finishing thrust against Huang. And as Huang is about to take Persephone, Roa, Breaker of Storms, which is an amazingly cool name, And it seems like Hades even put a spin. Ooh, that's cool. Hades put a spin on the Biden so it has even more like force behind it. Huang manages to raise his spelter and almost like he blocks it with this weird energy thing. I'm not sure. Maybe that's just the impact of the Biden, but he blocks it with the back of his hand. And then this weird energy wave seems to curl out around it. The Biden goes past him. Like I'm not sure if that's a block or a deflection. Like he goes past him, and then thusly Hades lunges on past him. But in return, as the strike like shatters a whole chunk of the arena, which admittedly looks more bland than it did last chapter. I wish we still had like the big glowing statue things, but who knows? We may see him again. We see that while Hades just believes his strike was reflected, it seems like the waves that came from his attack that Huang manages to like catch are rippling throughout Huang's entire body, and then he refocuses it in his palms and fires it right back at Hades. And Hades gets his whole self, he himself gets blown back, but his Biden also gets blown back so hard that he actually ends up stabbing himself with it, which is crazy to see. And then he goes from being on one side of the arena to being slammed so hard all the way against the wall. And pada ping, pada boom, it seems like Hades is in trouble. And then we get to see that how Huang did that was through Chiyo armor form. And apparently, well, obviously it's an armor form, Heavenly Hand of Defense. So it's almost, I wouldn't say it's like a full counter thing. It's almost like a baby revenge counter. Like he took the force of the attack, channeled it throughout his body, and then fired it back out. And he did that via the armor form. And then he says to a Hades who's like, whew, so that's my own attack feels like. Like he says to that, like, yo, Hades, king of the netherworld, was it? Let me tell you something. There can only be one king in this world, and that man is I. And then the chapter ends. And overall, a really, really, really solid chapter. And once again, do think the design's a little bit top-heavy, not gonna lie. But in terms of everything else, the chapter was a solid 10 out of 10. It establishes Qin Shi Huang. It establishes Huang's personality very, very well. It establishes Hades' personality very, very well before the fight begins. It gives us a lot of hype on multiple different levels by seeing these two finally engage in their hyped up battle now. To see Huang's new Volund and abilities being emphasized, seeing Hades' pure power and lore emphasized. Like, this chapter just has so much juicy stuff in it for our two main combatants while still building up stuff on the side, like Hermes' own reactions, building up the intrigue of where some people are. Like, why wouldn't Zeus be reacting to this fight of his older brother? Like, and obviously the whole implementation of this different like plot. Like, once again, Huang is fighting for his title, meanwhile Hades is fighting for his brother. Who's gonna win off of that? There's so much good dynamics established in this chapter that I seriously enjoy it. But those are my thoughts. Please tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below. This is a solid 10 out of 10 for me. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is that guy with the pencil, writing off.